The reading of the most set apart scripture, Genesis through Revelation. The third book of the Torah, Wayyiqra, also known as Leviticus. Chapter 15. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe and to Aaron, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, when any man has a discharge from his flesh, his discharge is unclean, and this is his uncleanness in regard to his discharge, whether his flesh runs with his discharge or his flesh is stopped up by his discharge. It is his uncleanness. Any bed becomes unclean on which he who has the discharge lies, and any object on which he sits becomes unclean. And anyone who touches his bed has to wash his garments, and shall bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. And he who sits on any object on which he who has the discharge sat has to wash his garments, and shall bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. And he who touches the flesh of him who has the discharge has to wash his garments, and shall bathe in water, and shall be unclean until evening. And when he who has the discharge spits on him who is clean, then he shall wash his garments, and shall bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. Any saddle on which he who has the discharge rides becomes unclean. And whoever touches any of that which was under him is unclean until evening. And he who is carrying them up has to wash his garments, and shall bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. And anyone whom he who has the discharge touches without rinsing his hands in water shall wash his garments and bathe in water and be unclean until evening. And the earthen vessel, which he who has the discharge touches, has to be broken, and every wooden vessel has to be rinsed in water. And when he who has a discharge is cleansed of his discharge, then he shall count for himself 7 days for his cleansing, and shall wash his garments, and shall bathe his flesh in running water, and be clean. And on the 8th day he takes for himself 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, and shall come before Yahuwah to the door of the tent of appointment, and shall give them to the priest. And the priest shall prepare them, the one as a sin offering, and the other as an ascending offering. And the priest shall make atonement for him before Yahuwah because of his discharge. And when a man has an emission of semen, then he shall wash all his flesh in water and be unclean until evening. And any garment and any leather on which there is semen shall also be washed with water and be unclean until evening. And when a woman lies with a man, and there is an emission of semen, they both shall bathe in water and be unclean until evening. And when a woman has a discharge, and the discharge from her flesh is blood, she has to be in her separation for 7 days. And whoever touches her is unclean until evening. And whatever she lies on during her separation is unclean. And whatever she sits on is unclean. And anyone who touches her bed has to wash his garments, and shall bathe in water and be unclean until evening. And whoever touches any object that she sat on has to wash his garments, and shall bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. And if it is on the bed or on any object on which she sits, when he touches it, he is unclean until evening. And if a man lies with her at all, and her monthly flow is on him, he shall be unclean 7 days. And any bed he lies on is unclean. And when a woman has a discharge of blood for many days, other than at the time of her monthly separation, or when she discharges beyond her usual time of monthly separation, all the days of her unclean discharge shall be as the days of her monthly separation. She is unclean. Any bed on which she lies all the days of her discharge is to her as the bed of her monthly separation. And whatever she sits on is unclean, as the uncleanness of her monthly separation. And anyone who touches them is unclean, and shall wash his garments, and shall bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. But if she is cleansed of her discharge, then she shall count for herself 7 days, and after that she is clean. And on the 8th day she takes for herself 2 turtle doves, or 2 young pigeons, and shall bring them to the priest to the door of the tent of appointment. And the priest shall prepare the one as a sin offering, and the other as an ascending offering. And the priest shall make atonement for her before Yahuwah for the discharge of her uncleanness. Thus you shall separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, lest they die in their uncleanness when they defile my dwelling place, which is in their midst. This is the Torah for one who has a discharge, and for him who emits semen and is unclean thereby, and for her who is sick in her monthly separation, and for one who has a discharge, either man or woman, and for him who lies with an unclean woman. Chapter 16. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe after the death of the 2 sons of Aaron, as they drew near before Yahuwah and died. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, speak to Aaron, your brother, not to come in at all times to the set apart place inside the veil, before the lid of atonement, which is on the ark, lest he die, because I appear in the cloud above the lid of atonement. With this, Aaron should come into the set apart place with the blood of a young bull as a sin offering, and of a ram as an ascending offering. He should put on the set apart linen, long shirt, with linen trousers on his flesh, and gird himself with a linen girdle, and be dressed with the linen turban. They are set apart garments. And he shall bathe his body in water, and shall put them on. And from the congregation of the children of Israel, he takes 2 male goats as a sin offering, and 1 ram as an ascending offering. And Aaron shall bring the bull as a sin offering, which is for himself, and make atonement for himself and for his house. And he shall take the 2 goats and let them stand before Yahuwah at the door of the tent of appointment. And Aaron shall cast lots for the 2 goats, 1 lot for Yahuwah, and the other lot for Azazel. And Aaron shall bring the goat on which the lot for Yahuwah fell, and shall prepare it as a sin offering, But the goat on which the lot for Azazel fell is caused to stand alive before Yahuwah, to make atonement upon it, to send it into the wilderness to Azazel. And Aaron shall bring the bull of the sin offering, which is for himself, and make atonement for himself and for his house, and shall slay the bull as the sin offering, which is for himself, and shall take a fire holder filled with burning coals of fire from the slaughter place before Yahuwah, with his hands filled with sweet incense beaten fine, and shall bring it inside the veil. And he shall put the incense on the fire before Yahuwah, and the cloud of incense shall cover the lid of atonement, which is on the witness, lest he die. And he shall take some of the blood of the bull and sprinkle it with his finger on the lid of atonement on the east side. Also, in front of the lid of atonement, he sprinkles some of the blood with his finger 7 times. And he shall slay the goat of the sin offering, which is for the people, and shall bring its blood inside the veil, and shall do with that blood as he did with the blood of the bull, and sprinkle it on the lid of atonement, and in front of the lid of atonement. And he shall make atonement for the set apart place because of the uncleanness of the children of Israel, and because of their transgressions in all their sins. And so he does for the tent of appointment, which is dwelling with them in the midst of their uncleanness. And no man should be in the tent of appointment when he goes in to make atonement in the set apart place until he comes out. And he shall make atonement for himself and for his household and for all the assembly of Israel. And he shall go out to the slaughter place that is before Yahuwah and make atonement for it. And he shall take some of the blood of the bull and some of the blood of the goat and put it on the horns of the slaughter place all around. And he shall sprinkle some of the blood on it with his finger 7 times, and cleanse it, and set it apart from the uncleanness of the children of Israel. And when he has finished atoning for the set apart place, and the tent of appointment, and the slaughter place, he shall bring the live goat. Then Aaron shall lay both his hands on the head of the live goat, and shall confess over it all the crookedness of the children of Israel, and all their transgressions in all their sins, and shall put them on the head of the goat, and shall send it away into the wilderness by the hand of a fit man. And the goat shall bear on itself all their crookedness to a land cut off. Thus he shall send the goat away into the wilderness. Aaron shall then come into the tent of appointment and shall take off the linen garments which he put on when he went into the set apart place, and shall leave them there. And he shall bathe his body in water in the set apart place, and shall put on his garments, and shall come out and prepare his ascending offering and the ascending offering of the people, and make atonement for himself and for the people, and burn the fat of the sin offering on the slaughter place. And he who sent away the goat to Azazel washes his garments, and shall bathe his body in water, and afterward he comes into the camp, and the bull for the sin offering, and the goat for the sin offering, whose blood was brought in to make atonement in the set apart place, is brought outside the camp, and they shall burn their skins and their flesh and their dung with fire. And he who burns them washes his garments, and shall bathe his body in water, and afterward he comes into the camp. And this shall be for you a law forever. In the 7th new moon, on the 10th day of the new moon, you afflict your beings, and do no work, the native or the sojourner who sojourns among you. For on that day he makes atonement for you, to cleanse you, to be clean from all your sins before Yahuwah. It is a Sabbath of rest for you, and you shall afflict your beings, a law forever. And the priest who is anointed and ordained to serve as priest in his father's place shall make atonement, and shall put on the linen garments, the set apart garments, and he shall make atonement for the most set apart place, and make atonement for the tent of appointment, and for the slaughter place, and make atonement for the priest, and for all the people of the assembly. And this shall be for you a law forever, to make atonement for the children of Israel for all their sins once a year. And he did as Yahuwah commanded Moshe. Chapter 17. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to Aaron, to his sons, and to all the children of Israel, and say to them, This is the word which Yahuwah has commanded, saying, Any man from the house of Israel who slays a bull or a lamb or a goat in the camp, or who slays it outside the camp, and does not bring it to the door of the tent of appointment to bring an offering to Yahuwah before the dwelling place of Yahuwah, blood guilt is reckoned to that man. He has shed blood, and that man shall be cut off from among his people, in order that the children of Israel bring their slaughterings which they slaughter in the open field, and they shall bring them to Yahuwah at the door of the tent of appointment to the priest, and slaughter them as slaughterings of peace offerings to Yahuwah. And the priest shall sprinkle the blood on the slaughter place of Yahuwah at the door of the tent of appointment, and shall burn the fat for a sweet fragrance to Yahuwah. And let them no longer slaughter their slaughterings to demons, after whom they whored. This is a law forever for them throughout their generations. And say to them, Any man of the house of Israel or of the sojourners who sojourn among you, who offers an ascending offering or slaughtering, and does not bring it to the door of the tent of appointment to do it to Yahuwah, that man shall be cut off from among his people. And any man of the house of Israel or of the sojourners who sojourn among you, who eats any blood, I shall set my face against that being who eats blood, and shall cut him off from among his people. For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the slaughter place to make atonement for your lives. For it is the blood that makes atonement for the life. Therefore, I said to the children of Israel, no being among you eats blood, nor does any sojourner who sojourns among you eat blood. And any man from the children of Israel, or from the sojourners who sojourn among you, who hunts and catches any beast or bird which is eaten, shall pour out its blood and cover it with dust. For it is the life of all flesh. Its blood is for its life. And I said to the children of Israel, do not eat the blood of any flesh, for the life of all flesh is its blood. Anyone eating it is cut off. And any being who eats a carcass or what was torn by a beast, be he a native or a sojourner, he shall wash his garments and bathe in water, and shall be unclean until evening. Then he shall be clean. And if he does not wash or bathe his body, then he shall bear his crookedness. Chapter 18. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. Do not do as they do in the land of Mitzrayim, where you dwelt, and do not do as they do in the land of Canaan, where I am bringing you, and do not walk in their laws. Do my right rulings, and guard my laws, to walk in them. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. And you shall guard my laws and my right rulings, which a man does and lives by them. I am Yahuwah. No one is to approach any one of his own flesh to uncover his nakedness. I am Yahuwah. The nakedness of your father or the nakedness of your mother you do not uncover. She is your mother. You do not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of your father's wife you do not uncover. It is your father's nakedness. The nakedness of your sister, the daughter of your father, or the daughter of your mother, whether born at home or elsewhere, their nakedness you do not uncover. The nakedness of your son's daughter, or your daughter's daughter, their nakedness you do not uncover, for theirs is your own nakedness. The nakedness of your father's wife's daughter, brought forth by your father, she is your sister. You do not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of your father's sister, you do not uncover. She is your father's flesh. The nakedness of your mother's sister, you do not uncover, for she is your mother's flesh. The nakedness of your father's brother, you do not uncover. You do not approach his wife, she is your aunt. The nakedness of your daughter-in-law, you do not uncover. She is your son's wife. You do not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of your brother's wife, you do not uncover. It is your brother's nakedness. The nakedness of a woman and her daughter, you do not uncover, nor do you take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness. They are her relatives. It is wickedness. And do not take a woman as a rival to her sister to uncover her nakedness while the other is alive. And do not approach a woman to uncover her nakedness in her monthly separation of uncleanness. And do not have intercourse with the wife of your neighbor to defile yourself with her, and do not give any of your offspring to pass through to Molech, and do not profane the name of your Elohim. I am Yahuwah. And do not lie with a male as with a woman. It is an abomination. And do not have intercourse with any beast to defile yourself with it. And a woman does not stand before a beast to mate with it. It is a perversion. Do not defile yourself with all these, for by all these the nations are defiled, which I am driving out before you. Thus the land became defiled. Therefore I punished it for its crookedness, and the land vomited out its inhabitants. But you shall guard my laws and my right rulings, and do not do any of these abominations, the native nor sojourner who sojourns among you, because the men of the land who were before you have done all these abominations, and thus the land became defiled. So let not the land vomit you out for defiling it, as it vomited out the nations that were before you. For whoever does any of these abominations, those beings who do them shall be cut off from among their people. And you shall guard my charge, so as not to do any of these abominable laws which were done before you, so as not to defile yourselves by them. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. Chapter 19. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to all the congregation of the children of Israel, and say to them, Be set apart, for I, Yahuwah, your Elohim, am set apart. Each one of you should fear his mother and his father, and guard my Sabbaths. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. Do not turn to idols, and do not make for yourselves molded mighty ones. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. And when you slaughter a slaughtering of peace offerings to Yahuwah, slaughter it for your acceptance. It is eaten the same day you slaughter it, and on the next day, and that which is left on the third day is burned with fire. So if it is eaten at all on the third day, it is abominable, it is not accepted. And he who eats it bears his crookedness, because he has profaned the set apart offering of Yahuwah, and that being shall be cut off from his people. And when you reap the harvest of your land, do not completely reap the corners of your field, or gather the gleanings of your harvest, and do not glean your vineyard, or gather every grape of your vineyard. Leave them for the poor and the sojourner. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. Do not steal, do not lie, do not deceive one another, and do not swear falsely by my name, and so profane the name of your Elohim. I am Yahuwah. Do not oppress your neighbor or rob him. The wages of him who is hired is not to remain with you all night until morning. Do not curse the deaf or put a stumbling block before the blind, but fear your Elohim. I am Yahuwah. Do no unrighteousness in right ruling. Do not be partial to the poor or favor the face of the great, but rightly rule your neighbor in righteousness. Do not go slandering among your people. Do not stand against the blood of your neighbor. I am Yahuwah. Do not hate your brother in your heart. Reprove your neighbor for certain, and bear no sin because of him. Do not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the children of your people, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am Yahuwah. Guard my laws. Do not let your livestock mate with another kind. Do not sow your field with mixed seed, and do not put a garment woven of two sorts of thread upon you. And when a man has intercourse with a woman who is a female servant engaged to a man and to be ransomed, but she has not been ransomed nor set free, there should be an inquiry, but they are not put to death because she was not free. And he shall bring his guilt offering to Yahuwah, to the door of the tent of appointment, a ram as a guilt offering. And the priest shall make atonement for him with the ram of the guilt offering before Yahuwah for his sin which he has done. And the sin which he has sinned shall be forgiven him. And when you come into the land and have planted all kinds of trees for food, then you shall reckon their fruit as uncircumcised. For 3 years it is as uncircumcised to you. It is not eaten. And in the 4th year, all its fruit is set apart. Praises to Yahuwah. And in the 5th year, you eat its fruit, so that it increases its yield to you. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. Do not eat meat with the blood. Do not practice divination or magic. Do not round the corner of your head, nor destroy the corner of your beard. And do not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor put tattoo marks on you. I am Yahuwah. Do not profane your daughter by making her a whore, so that the land does not whore, and the land becomes filled with wickedness. Guard my Sabbaths and reverence my set apart place. I am Yahuwah. Do not turn to mediums, and do not seek after spiritists to be defiled by them. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. Rise up before the gray-headed, and you shall favor the face of an old man, and shall fear your Elohim. I am Yahuwah. And when a sojourner sojourns with you in your land, do not oppress him. Let the sojourner who sojourns among you be to you as the native among you, and you shall love him as yourself. For you were sojourners in the land of Mitzrayim. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. Do no unrighteousness in right ruling, in measurement of length, in weight, or in measuring liquids. Have right scales, right weights, a right ephah, and a right hin. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim. And you shall guard all my laws and all my right rulings, and do them. I am Yahuwah. Chapter 20. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, Say to the children of Yisrael, any man of the children of Yisrael or of the sojourners who sojourn in Yisrael, who gives any of his offspring to Molech, shall certainly be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones. And I shall set my face against that man, and shall cut him off from the midst of his people, because he has given of his offspring to Molech, so as to defile my set apart place, and to profane my set apart name. And if the people of the land at all hide their eyes from the man, as he gives any of his offspring to Molech, and they do not kill him, then I shall set my face against that man and against his clan, and shall cut him off, and all who go whoring after him, even go whoring after Molech, from the midst of their people. And the being who turns to mediums and to spiritists to go whoring after them, I shall set my face against that being and cut him off from the midst of his people. And you shall set yourselves apart and shall be set apart, for I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. And you shall guard my laws and do them. I am Yahuwah, who sets you apart. For everyone who curses his father or his mother shall certainly be put to death. He who has cursed his father or his mother, his blood is on him. And a man who commits adultery with the wife of another man, who commits adultery with the wife of his neighbor, the adulterer and the adulteress shall certainly be put to death. And a man who lies with the wife of his father has uncovered the nakedness of his father. Both of them shall certainly be put to death. Their blood is upon them. And a man who lies with his daughter-in-law, both of them shall certainly be put to death. They have made confusion. Their blood is upon them. And a man who lies with a male, as he lies with a woman, both of them have done an abomination. They shall certainly be put to death. Their blood is upon them. And a man who marries a woman and her mother, it is wickedness. They are burned with fire, both he and they, that there be no wickedness in your midst. And a man who has intercourse with a beast, he shall certainly be put to death, and the beast you kill. And a woman who approaches any beast and mates with it, you shall kill the woman and the beast. They shall certainly be put to death. Their blood is upon them. And a man who takes his sister, his father's daughter, or his mother's daughter, and sees her nakedness, and she sees his nakedness, is it loving commitment? And they shall be cut off before the eyes of their people. He has uncovered his sister's nakedness. He bears his crookedness. And a man who lies with a woman during her sickness and uncovers her nakedness, he has laid bare her flow, and she has uncovered the flow of her blood. Both of them shall be cut off from the midst of their people. And do not uncover the nakedness of your mother's sister, nor of your father's sister, for that is laying bare one's own flesh. They bear their crookedness. And a man who lies with his uncle's wife, he has uncovered his uncle's nakedness. They bear their sin. They die childless. And a man who takes his brother's wife, it is uncleanness. He has uncovered his brother's nakedness. they are childless. And you shall guard all my laws and all my right rulings, and do them, so that the land where I am bringing you to dwell does not vomit you out. And do not walk in the laws of the nation, which I am driving out before you, for they do all these, and therefore I loathed them. But I say to you, you are going to possess their land, and I myself give it to you to possess it, a land flowing with milk and honey. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim, who has separated you from the peoples. And you shall make a distinction between clean beast and unclean, and between unclean birds and clean. And do not make yourselves abominable by beast or by bird, or whatever creeps on the ground, which I have separated from you as unclean. And you shall be set apart to me, for I, Yahuwah, am set apart, and have separated you from the people to be mine. And a man or a woman in whom there is a medium or who are spiritist shall certainly be put to death. They are to stone them with stones. Their blood is upon them. Chapter 21. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, speak to the priest, the sons of Aaron, and say to them, no one is to be defiled or the dead among his people, except for his relatives who are nearest to him, for his mother, and for his father, and for his son, and for his daughter, and for his brother, and for his maiden sister who is near to him, who has had no husband. For her he is defiled. A leader does not defile himself among his people to profane himself. They do not make any bald place on their heads, and they do not shave the corner of their beard, and they do not make a cutting in their flesh. They are set apart to their Elohim, and do not profane the name of their Elohim, for they bring the fire offering of Yahuwah and the bread of their Elohim, and shall be set apart. They do not take a woman who is a whore or a defiled woman, and they do not take a woman put away from her husband, for he is set apart to his Elohim. And you shall set him apart, for he brings the bread of your Elohim. He is set apart to you. For I, Yahuwah, setting you apart, am set apart. And when the daughter of any priest profanes herself by whoring, she profanes her father. She is burned with fire. And the high priest among his brothers, on whose head the anointing oil was poured, and who is ordained to wear the garments, does not unbind his head nor tear his garments, nor come near any dead body, nor defile himself or his father or his mother, nor go out of the set apart place, nor profane the set apart place of his Elohim. For the sign of dedication of the anointing oil of his Elohim is upon him. I am Yahuwah. And let him take a wife in her maidenhood, a widow, or one put away, or a defiled woman, or a whore. These he does not take, but a maiden of his own people he does take as a wife, and he does not profane his offspring among his people. For I am Yahuwah, who sets him apart. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to Aaron, saying, no man of your offspring throughout their generations who has any defect is to draw near to bring the bread of his Elohim. For any man who has a defect is not to draw near. A man blind, or one lame, or disfigured, or deformed. A man who has a broken foot, or broken hand, or is a hunchback, or a dwarf, or a man who has a defect in his eye, or eczema, or scab, or is a eunuch. No man among the offspring of Aaron the priest who has a defect is to come near to bring the offering made by fire to Yahuwah. He has a defect. He does not come near to bring the bread of his Elohim. He does eat the bread of his Elohim, both the most set apart and the set apart only. He does not go near the veil or approach the slaughter place because he has a defect, lest he profanes my set apart places. For I am Yahuwah, who sets them apart. Thus Moshe spoke to Aaron and his sons and to all the children of Yisrael.